Hey everyone, I'm Rich. This is the base model M2 Mac Mini that you can get for $499 through the Apple student discount, and I believe that this may be the easiest way for you to get into the world of Mac and Apple's ecosystem, given that you have your own monitor, keyboard, and mouse already at an affordable price. The only other entry-level devices I can think of from Apple is probably the iPhone and the Apple Watch SE. I'll just get right into the video. The Mini is connected to my 34-inch HP 165Hz monitor, and I think it fits nicely on my desk. I mean, that's how Mac Minis have always been. The Mac Mini's square shape and rounded corners are iconic. It literally looks like an icon rendered in 3D. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the specs briefly, the performance, how it works for me as a student, and if this is something that you should look at getting into if you're on the fence about this. So let's get right into it. At this price point, you're getting Apple's 8-core M2 chip, 10-core GPU, 8 gigs of RAM, and 256GB SSD, which some have confirmed that they used a single NAND chip rather than the dual chips in the previous M1s, which is about half the speed compared to the 512GB model, and that's something that my M1 MacBook Air would technically have a faster read and write speed than this one. Now, the difference in speed actually has little to no effect on who would even consider picking up a base model to begin with. It has no effect on music production, no effect on coding, surfing the web, doing anything like that. Unless you're dealing with a lot of video and photo files that needs a lot of read and write, transferring data from maybe a drive to the Mac, putting it onto another drive, who knows. These would probably include a lot of 4K video files, a ton of raw files for photos. If anything, I didn't really feel this as a huge deal breaker. I mean, it hasn't affected me in any shape or way at all. I don't even notice it, but it's just kind of a sly move from Apple for them to just kind of go and downgrade to a single NAND chip. I mean, other YouTubers had to go and take this machine apart and kind of look for themselves to see, what's Apple really putting in here. So props to those people. But yeah, Apple, come on, like they didn't even mention it at all. So the M2 Mac Mini has 2 USB-A and 2 Thunderbolt ports. You should definitely get a USB hub for this. For me, this is not enough, especially when you're plugging in your keyboard, your mouse, maybe an external card reader. If maybe you want to charge your devices, plug in an extra webcam. You get a headphone jack, power, and Ethernet, and lastly an HDMI 2.1 port. What does 2.1 mean? Well, you can now use 4K monitors over 60Hz refresh rate. So if you do have a really expensive $500+ monitor that's 4K and maybe 120Hz, I don't know why you would even go with the base model to begin with, but you do have the option to have a really buttery smooth screen. I found that the M2 Mac Mini was way more than enough for my daily needs, which involve surfing the web, watching YouTube videos, texting friends, and basically everything that comes with using a Mac Mini in general. While navigating through the Mac OS Ventura, I found that everything was very snappy and quick, other than maybe the animations which you can turn off. The Mac Mini performs how it should be, and it performs well. I tested out rendering a simple 4K video timeline on DaVinci Resolve, which was about 6 minutes, and you can see that this finished at 3 minutes and 51 seconds on the M2. And if we put this up against the 2020 M1 MacBook Air, it was able to render the exact timeline at 4 minutes and 18 seconds. So, alright, I mean, you save like half a minute. You could probably wash your hands during that time, to be honest. So then I made another 4K timeline, but at this time it was 16 minutes. And you can see that the M2 and M1 Air finish at around 11 minutes and 23 seconds at exactly the same time. So I think the big takeaway here is the new chip on the Macs. They did report that it is like a couple percentage faster than the M1s. I don't think the base M2 is meant to accomplish more. I think it's just supposed to be more energy efficient, then use less power doing so. If you have huge timelines for maybe your music or videos that has a bunch of transitions, overlays, effects, then the M2 processing power could definitely come in handy in here, but for me, the difference is pretty small. It's good, but yeah, it's kind of small. I think it's safe to say that this M2 Mac Mini is aimed at those consumers who want to get into the world of Mac if they've never been. Maybe you're someone in high school or a university student that wants something more personal, something more grounded, that fact that you can plug in your monitor, your keyboard and mouse and all that and have it, cater to you. It could be a good gift option for your older relative, a child or someone. I would also personally go with the 512GB option, or at least if you do get the base model, please get an external hard drive because 256GB now is pretty pitiful. I mean, you could barely put anything on here. So to wrap up this video, I really enjoyed using the M2 Mac Mini. For the most part, it's more or less the same. What's new from Apple? It just kept the old design and put in a new chip and did some other stuff. The difference to me on a base model is barely noticeable. They just kind of repeat the same products and switch out the engines, kind of like what they did with the iPhone SE. But hey, it's like the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like I said, I think this is way more than enough for the average student out there to get them through the basic studies, homework browsing, Word documents. You can definitely video edit on this device. You can definitely video edit fast. You can do bunch of music you can code on here. My friend said coding on M2 Mac using Python was great, but same can be said about his M1 MacBook Air. So hey, I think it's a nice refresh. Could you save some money going with the M1 Mac Mini instead? Yeah, but honestly at this point I'll just cough up maybe extra $50 some and just get this one instead. It's gonna be newer. You really have nothing to worry about this device. I think it's a really great and solid machine. So hey, that's all I got for this review. Anyways, if you enjoyed this, please hit that like and subscribe button. Tell me down below if this is something that you're looking at getting. Would you get the upgrade instead? Pair it up with your monitor. What do you have it connected to? I want to know. Would you even go with the M2 Pros instead and tell me how that's working for you? Or would you just stick with something basic and meta? Something simple as this. If that's the case, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.